Hello there, and welcome to this sleepy science zone, a place where nothing needs your attention, and your body is free to return to its own natural rhythm. There is a moment each night, usually unnoticed, when your body makes a quiet decision. As external light fades and stimulation softens, your nervous system begins to shift its priorities, not toward action, not toward problem solving, but toward repair. This transition is not poetic language. It is a measurable biological event. Within the first minutes of rest, activity in your brain begins to change. Fast, alert beta waves slowly give way to calmer alpha rhythms, and then toward theta as drowsiness deepens. At the same time, heart rate variability increases, a well-established marker of nervous system resilience and parasympathetic activation. Blood pressure gently lowers, and stress hormones, such as cortisol, begin their nightly decline. What many people intuitively describe as positive energy during the night is, in scientific terms, a coordinated shift toward physiological safety. As this shift unfolds, the vagus nerve, one of the primary communication pathways between brain and body, becomes more active. This single change sends calming signals to the heart, lungs, digestive system, and immune network. Breathing naturally deepens. Muscle tone softens. Inflammatory signaling begins to quiet. From the body's perspective, night is not passive. It is a carefully scheduled maintenance window. At the cellular level, DNA repair enzymes increase their activity, correcting small errors accumulated during the day. Proteins damaged by metabolic stress are refolded or dismantled and recycled, and mitochondria shift away from peak energy output and toward efficiency and recovery, reducing oxidative strain. These processes happen slowly, silently, and continuously, without conscious effort. Emotional state plays a subtle but important role here. Research in psychoneuroimmunology shows that when the brain perceives safety, it reduces threat-related signaling throughout the body. This allows immune cells to coordinate more effectively and reduces unnecessary inflammation. In other words, calm does not merely feel good, it creates better biological conditions for repair. As the night deepens, melatonin levels continue to rise. Beyond regulating sleep timing, melatonin acts as a powerful antioxidant, protecting cells from free radical damage. Growth hormone is released in gentle pulses, supporting tissue regeneration, metabolic balance, and muscle repair. Even the brain's internal networks reorganize, allowing emotional experiences to be processed with less intensity. None of this requires effort from you. You do not need to direct it. You do not need to visualize it. These systems evolved long before conscious intention. Your only role is to allow the conditions they need: darkness, stillness, and time. As you rest here now, your body already understands what to do. Each slower breath reinforces signals of safety. Each quiet moment allows restorative processes to continue uninterrupted. Positive energy, in this sense, is not something added to you. It is what naturally emerges when interference fades. And the night, steady and patient, knows exactly how to begin. As the night continues, something subtle but deeply important begins to happen beneath your awareness. Your nervous system, which spent the day scanning for signals, solving problems, and protecting you from uncertainty, slowly releases its grip. This release is not sudden. It unfolds in layers, like a dimmer switch, easing the lights down rather than turning them off. Hello there, and welcome once again to the sleepy science zone, where the body remembers how to feel safe without being told how. At this stage of the night, the balance between the two branches of your autonomic nervous system begins to shift more clearly. The sympathetic system, responsible for alertness and readiness, steps back. The parasympathetic system, the one devoted to rest, digestion, and repair, moves gently forward. This transition is essential. Without it, true healing cannot begin. One of the first systems to respond is your breathing. Without instruction, breaths become slower and deeper. The diaphragm moves more fully. Carbon dioxide levels in the blood stabilize, which helps calm the brain's respiratory centers. This alone reduces unnecessary neural firing and lowers the background noise in your mind. Calm breathing is not a technique here. It is a natural consequence of safety. As breath-in slows, signals travel upward from the body to the brain through sensory pathways, informing higher centers that the environment is secure. This process is known as bottom-up regulation, and it is far more powerful than conscious control. The body leads, the mind follows. Heart rhythm also begins to change. Instead of beating with rigid regularity, it adopts a subtle variability, tiny fluctuations between beats that reflect adaptability and health. Higher heart rate variability has been consistently associated with improved emotional regulation, reduced stress load, and better long-term cardiovascular outcomes. At night, this variability is a sign that the system is no longer bracing. Muscle tone responds next. Small chronic contractions held throughout the day, especially in the jaw, neck, shoulders, and lower back, start to release. Motor neurons reduce their baseline firing rate. The body no longer needs to stay ready to move. Gravity is allowed to do more of the work. This reduction in muscular effort conserves energy and reduces pain signals that might otherwise interfere with sleep. Inside the brain, communication patterns continue to reorganize. Regions involved in vigilance and threat detection reduce their activity. At the same time, networks responsible for integration and internal awareness become more coherent. This allows sensations, memories, and emotions to pass through without triggering action. Thoughts may still arise, but they carry less urgency. They float rather than pull. This is where the idea of positive energy intersects cleanly with science. A calm nervous system changes the chemical environment of your body. Levels of stress-related neurotransmitters decline. Calming neuromodulators become more influential. Immune signaling shifts toward regulation rather than defense. Even gene expression related to inflammation begins to adjust in response to sustained parasympathetic activity. Importantly, this state cannot be forced. Effort belongs to the daytime nervous system. Night responds only to permission. As you lie here now, nothing is required of you. Your body is not waiting for instructions. It is following a sequence it has practiced thousands of times before. Each moment of stillness reinforces the message. There is no emergency. Each quiet breath confirms this is a safe time to restore. And as the nervous system settles further into this gentle descent, the deeper layers of nighttime healing prepare to unfold, slowly, quietly, and exactly on time. As the night settles more deeply, communication inside your body begins to change in quality rather than speed. During the day, signals move quickly, often redundantly, prioritizing reaction and protection. At night, those same pathways become quieter and more precise. Fewer messages are sent, but the ones that remain carry clearer meaning. This shift is essential for restoration. When the brain senses darkness and stillness, it reduces the constant background signaling associated with alertness. Sensory input from the eyes, ears, and muscles decreases. In response, the thalamus, often described as the brain's sensory gatekeeper, filters incoming information more selectively. This allows internal signals, rather than external demands, to guide the body's next steps. One of the most important changes occurs in how electrical activity spreads through neural networks. Neurons begin to fire in slower, more synchronized patterns. These rhythms are not random. They coordinate distant regions of the brain, allowing them to share information efficiently while using less energy. Synchrony reduces friction. Less energy is lost to noise. More is available for repair. As these patterns stabilize, chemical messengers follow suit. Levels of excitatory neurotransmitters decline slightly, while inhibitory influences become more prominent. This does not shut the brain down. Instead, it creates a balanced environment where unnecessary signals fade and essential maintenance processes continue uninterrupted. Calm, here, is a functional state. Throughout the body, similar principles apply. Blood vessels relax, improving circulation to tissues involved in repair. The digestive system increases its activity, absorbing nutrients more effectively and supporting the gut microbiome, a key regulator of immune and metabolic health. Lymphatic flow improves, assisting in the removal of metabolic waste that accumulated during waking hours. The immune system, often misunderstood as purely defensive, also uses the night to recalibrate. Certain immune cells reduce their patrol-like behavior and focus instead on regulation and memory formation. This helps prevent overreaction and supports long-term resilience. Studies show that consistent, high-quality sleep improves immune response accuracy, not just strength. Positive emotional states subtly enhance this process. When the brain is not occupied with unresolved threat, it allows these systems to operate with fewer interruptions. Stress hormones remain low. Repair signals encounter less resistance. Over time, this leads to measurable improvements in inflammation markers, metabolic efficiency, and cardiovascular health. Importantly, this coordination depends on continuity. Each calm minute builds upon the last. The body does not rush. It layers repair slowly, like sediment settling in still water. This is why frequent nighttime interruptions, light, noise, or mental agitation can fragment the process. Stillness allows completion. As you remain here, breathing quietly, your body continues this internal conversation. Messages travel along nerves and vessels, across membranes and between cells, carrying simple instructions. Restore balance, conserve energy, prepare gently for what comes next. Nothing about this process is dramatic. That is its strength. And as the night deepens further, these calm signals will guide you toward even more profound states of rest, where restoration becomes effortless and awareness softens without disappearing. As external awareness continues to fade, and the brain begins a different kind of work, one that does not involve solving problems or making decisions. Instead, it turns inward, reorganizing patterns formed during the day. This reorganization is quiet, methodical, and deeply restorative. During waking hours, the brain prioritizes speed and relevance. Experiences are processed quickly, often with emotional emphasis to support immediate action. At night, that urgency dissolves. Neural networks associated with memory, emotion, and self-perception begin to communicate more freely with one another, without the pressure of response. One of the most studied changes occurs in the hippocampus and related memory systems. Information gathered throughout the day is replayed in slower sequences, allowing it to be integrated into long-term storage. And details that once carried emotional charge are softened. Context is added. What felt overwhelming earlier can be reclassified as manageable or complete. This process has important emotional consequences. When memories are reprocessed during calm states, they are less likely to trigger strong stress responses later. The brain learns not only what happened, but how safe it is to remember. Over time, this reduces baseline anxiety and improves emotional regulation. At the same time, networks involved in self-referential thinking, the quiet inner narration many people experience, become less rigid. Thoughts may still appear, but they are less tightly bound to identity or urgency. They drift. They dissolve more easily. This mental fluidity is a sign that the brain is no longer trying to control outcomes. Neurochemically, this phase is supported by changes in neuromodulators that influence mood and attention. The balance favors stability over stimulation. This allows the brain to explore connections without becoming stuck. Creativity and insight often emerge from this state, but without the excitement that would pull you back into wakefulness. From a healing perspective, this reorganization matters deeply. Chronic stress is often maintained by repetitive thought patterns reinforced during waking hours. Nighttime processing offers an opportunity to loosen those patterns, gently and without force. Each night provides a small reset, a chance to reduce emotional load. Positive internal environments enhance this effect. When the nervous system remains calm, emotional memories are processed in a less defensive context. This does not erase difficulty, but it integrates it more smoothly. The brain learns that rest and safety can coexist with memory. As you rest here now, this quiet work continues. You do not need to observe it. You do not need to guide it. Thoughts may come and go like distant lights, appearing briefly, then fading. And as the brain completes this gentle reorganization, it prepares to lead you even deeper, toward states where awareness thins and restoration becomes the only task left. Slowly, naturally, without effort. As the night continues to unfold, the body enters a phase that is fundamentally different from anything experienced during the day. This is the transition from doing to being. During waking hours, nearly every system in your body is oriented toward output. Movement, thinking, responding, producing. At night, that orientation gently reverses. These systems that were once in the background step forward, and those that demanded constant energy finally rest. One of the clearest signs of this shift is metabolic. During the day, cells prioritize rapid energy availability. Glucose is mobilized quickly. Muscles in the brain compete for fuel. At night, this competition eases. Insulin sensitivity changes. Energy usage becomes more efficient. Cells focus less on immediate output and more on repair and balance. This shift reduces metabolic strain, and supports long-term health. The liver, a central regulator of internal chemistry, alters its workload as well. Detoxification pathways become more active, processing byproducts accumulated during waking metabolism. Glycogen storage stabilizes. Lipid metabolism adjusts, supporting cellular membrane repair. None of this happens abruptly. It unfolds gradually, guided by circadian signals that have been refined over millions of years. Meanwhile, connective tissues, often overlooked, take advantage of stillness. Fascia, tendons, and ligaments respond to reduced muscular tension by rehydrating and reorganizing. This improves flexibility and reduces stiffness experienced the following day. What feels like waking up looser is often the result of these quiet nighttime processes. Positive internal conditions support this transition. When stress signals are low, cortisol remains suppressed, allowing anabolic processes to proceed. Growth hormone pulses more effectively, supporting tissue renewal and immune regulation. This hormone does not make you stronger overnight, but it repairs what was worn down, restoring baseline integrity. At the nervous system level, the shift from doing to being is reflected in reduced predictive activity. The brain spends less time anticipating future demands. Neural resources are freed to monitor internal states instead. This inward attention improves interoception, the brain's awareness of the body's internal environment. Better interoception is associated with improved emotional regulation and resilience. Importantly, this state cannot coexist with urgency. Urgency belongs to daylight. Night belongs to continuity. When the body senses that nothing is being demanded of it, it commits fully to restoration. This is why even subtle reminders of obligation, light, notifications, unresolved mental tasks can disrupt sleep quality without fully waking you. As you remain here now, still and supported, your body continues to settle into this mode. Energy use becomes economical. Repair processes layer quietly. There is no deadline, no finish line, just steady recalibration. Being, in this sense, is not inactivity. It is precision without effort. And as the body completes this shift, it prepares for an even deeper phase of nighttime restoration, one where awareness thins further and the boundary between body and mind softens. Beneath the calm surface of rest, an intricate chemical dialogue is taking place. Nighttime healing depends not only on neural rhythms, but on a carefully balanced internal chemistry that signals safety to every system. These chemical shifts are gentle, coordinated, and remarkably effective. One of the most influential changes involves stress-related hormones. Cortisol, essential for waking energy and alertness, follows a natural circadian decline at night. As its levels fall, tissues become more responsive to repair signals. High nighttime cortisol is associated with impaired sleep, inflammation, and metabolic disruption. Low nighttime cortisol, by contrast, creates an internal environment where healing can proceed without interference. At the same time, calming neurotransmitters and neuromodulators become more prominent. These substances reduce unnecessary neural firing and stabilize emotional tone. Rather than suppressing activity, they fine-tune it, lowering volume without silencing function. This balance allows the brain to remain responsive while disengaging from vigilance. The immune system responds sensitively to these chemical cues. During calm nights, immune signaling shifts away from immediate defense and toward regulation and memory consolidation. Cells communicate more clearly and reducing the risk of exaggerated inflammatory responses. Over time, this improves immune accuracy and lowers chronic inflammation, a major contributor to many long-term health conditions. Blood chemistry also reflects the state of rest. Levels of circulating glucose stabilize. Free fatty acids are managed more efficiently. Electrolyte balance supports nerve and muscle function without excess excitation. These subtle adjustments reduce physiological noise, making it easier for deeper sleep stages to emerge. Melatonin plays a central role in coordinating these changes. Often described only as a sleep hormone, melatonin is also a powerful antioxidant and immune modulator. It protects cellular structures from oxidative stress and supports mitochondrial efficiency. Its nighttime rise signals not just sleep, but permission to repair. Importantly, emotional safety amplifies these chemical effects. When the brain perceives calm, it reduces the release of substances associated with threat and urgency. This shifts the entire biochemical environment toward cooperation rather than defense. Healing is not accelerated by force. It is supported by consistency. As the night deepens, this chemistry stabilizes. The body no longer needs to adjust. It settles into a steady state where restoration can continue uninterrupted for hours. Each system supports the others. No single process dominates. Balance becomes the defining feature. You do not need to monitor this. You do not need to understand every detail. Your body has managed this chemistry thousands of times before. It recognizes the cues. It follows the sequence. And as these chemical signals continue their quiet work, they guide you gently toward deeper rest, where awareness becomes softer and healing continues without observation, slowly, naturally, and entirely on its own. As the night moves forward, stillness becomes more than the absence of movement. It becomes an active condition, one that allows the body's deeper repair systems to work without interruption. During the day, even moments of rest are often layered with tension, anticipation, or subtle readiness. At night, true stillness finally becomes possible, and the body responds immediately. When movement decreases, sensory input from muscles and joints drops significantly. This reduction has a direct effect on the brain. Motor and sensory regions lower their baseline activity, freeing neural resources for internal monitoring and coordination. The brain no longer needs to track posture, balance, or readiness. Instead, it can focus on maintaining internal order. This internal focus is essential for tissue repair. Micro-injuries in muscles, blood vessels, and connective tissues are common after a day of normal activity. Most are too small to notice, but collectively they matter. During stillness, blood flow patterns change, delivering oxygen and nutrients more evenly to tissues that were previously compressed or strained. Waste products are removed more efficiently. Healing does not require motion. It requires access. The skeletal system also benefits from this pause. Bone remodeling is a continuous process involving the breakdown and rebuilding of microscopic structures. Hormonal signals that support this process, particularly those related to calcium balance and growth hormone, are more effective during nighttime rest. Over time, this contributes to structural resilience and reduces injury risk. Stillness also affects pain perception. When the nervous system is no longer braced for action, pain processing pathways become less reactive. Signals that might register as discomfort during the day are interpreted more neutrally at night. This does not eliminate pain, but it reduces amplification. The brain learns that it does not need to respond urgently to every signal. Emotionally, stillness creates space. Without constant input, the mind stops chasing resolution. Thoughts lose their sharp edges. Feelings are allowed to exist without demanding interpretation. This emotional quiet is not suppression, it is integration. Experiences are absorbed into memory without being rehearsed repeatedly. Research on sleep continuity shows that uninterrupted stillness is one of the strongest predictors of restorative sleep. Even brief awakenings can fragment repair processes, forcing systems to reset repeatedly. This is why environments that feel safe, predictable, and calm support deeper healing. The body invests in repair only when it trusts that it will not be interrupted. As you remain here now, your stillness communicates a clear message. There is no need to move, no need to respond, no need to prepare. This message travels through nerves, hormones, and tissues, aligning the body around a single priority: restoration. Stillness, in this sense, is not emptiness, it is cooperation. And as the body settles more fully into this cooperative state, it opens the door to even deeper rhythms of repair, ones that emerge only when movement, effort, and urgency are fully released. As restoration continues, rhythm becomes the guiding principle of the night. Not the fast rhythms of thought or action, but slow, repeating patterns that synchronize systems across the body. These rhythms are ancient. They evolved to guide organisms safely through periods of darkness, conserving energy while maintaining readiness for renewal. Breathing settles into a steady cadence. Each inhale and exhale becomes less distinct, blending into a smooth cycle. This rhythm stabilizes blood gases, supports heart rate variability, and sends consistent signals of safety to the brainstem. The brain responds by reducing vigilance even further. There is nothing new to monitor. Heart rhythm follows. Subtle variations between beats align with breathing, a phenomenon known as respiratory sinus arrhythmia. This coordination reflects a healthy, responsive autonomic nervous system. It allows the heart to work efficiently without strain, supporting circulation while conserving energy. In the brain, electrical rhythms slow and spread. Theta waves become more prominent, especially in regions involved in memory and emotional processing. These waves act like a bridge between waking awareness and deeper sleep. They allow the mind to drift without fully disconnecting, easing the transition rather than forcing it. This rhythmic slowing is essential for entering deeper stages of sleep later. The brain cannot jump directly into deep rest. It must be guided there gradually, through repetition and consistency. Each stable rhythm reinforces the next, creating momentum towards sleep. Hormonal cycles align with these rhythms. Melatonin secretion stabilizes. Growth hormone pulses follow predictable timing. Even body temperature drops slightly, a signal that energy can be conserved. These changes are small, but together they form a powerful signal. The night is progressing as it should. Emotionally, rhythm reduces uncertainty. Predictability calms the nervous system. When patterns repeat without disruption, the brain stops searching for threats. Attention loosens its grip. Awareness becomes diffuse rather than focused. This diffusion is a hallmark of the approach to sleep. Positive internal states support this deepening rhythm. Calm thoughts do not interrupt the cycle. Gentle imagery, if it appears, flows with the rhythm rather than against it. There is no effort to stay awake and no pressure to fall asleep. The body simply continues along its established path. As you rest here now, and you may notice moments where awareness fades slightly, then returns. This is normal. It is a sign that the transition is underway. Each return requires less clarity. Each fade lasts a little longer. You do not need to follow this rhythm consciously. It is already carrying you. And as it deepens, slowly and reliably, it will guide you beyond effort, beyond observation, and into the quiet continuity of sleep, where healing continues, undisturbed and complete. As the night moves deeper, the body reaches a threshold where efficiency quietly replaces effort. This is the stage when repair systems no longer need adjustment or guidance. They settle into stable patterns, repeating what works and letting go of what does not. From the outside, nothing appears to change. Inside, however, coordination becomes remarkably precise. One of the most important shifts at this point involves energy allocation. During waking hours, energy is constantly redirected toward muscles, senses, and thought. Now, that redistribution slows. Cells receive a more even supply of resources, allowing them to prioritize maintenance. This reduces internal competition and lowers overall metabolic stress. In the brain, networks responsible for monitoring the external world reduce their activity further. Sensory gating becomes stronger. Sounds and sensations that might have drawn attention earlier are now filtered more effectively. This protects the continuity of rest. The brain is no longer deciding whether to respond. It has already chosen stillness. This stability allows deeper sleep stages to approach. Slow wave activity begins to appear more consistently, especially in regions associated with physical restoration. During these phases, communication between neurons becomes highly synchronized. Instead of many independent signals, large groups of neurons move together in slow, coordinated patterns. This synchronization is essential for restoring cellular balance in the brain. At the same time, the lymphatic system, a network responsible for clearing metabolic waste from brain tissue, becomes more active. Cerebrospinal fluid circulates more freely, washing away byproducts that accumulate during waking cognition. This process has been linked to long-term brain health and cognitive clarity. It requires stillness. It cannot function optimally during alertness. Throughout the body, similar clearance processes occur. The lymphatic system supports fluid balance and immune regulation. Muscles relax more completely, allowing blood vessels to open and close with minimal resistance. Oxygen delivery improves without increasing demand. The entire system works with less friction. Emotionally, this stage is marked by detachment without loss. Feelings are present only faintly, like echoes rather than events. This detachment allows the nervous system to rest without suppression. Nothing is being pushed away. Nothing is being held onto. Positive internal conditions support this efficiency. When the brain perceives safety over sustained periods, it reduces background stress signaling even further. This allows repair processes to proceed without interruption. Consistency matters more than intensity. Calm that lasts is more powerful than calm that spikes. As you remain here now, The body continues this work automatically. There is no decision being made, no choice required. The sequence is already in motion. Repair, at this level, is quiet. It does not announce itself. It simply continues. And as the night carries on, this efficiency prepares the body for an even deeper release, where awareness becomes minimal and restoration reaches its most complete expression. Eventually, the distinction between being awake and being asleep begins to lose its clarity. This is not a sudden transition. It is a soft boundary, one that the brain crosses gradually, often without notice. At this stage of the night, awareness no longer holds a central position. It drifts to the edges, observing less and less. Neuroscientifically, this boundary is marked by changes in how attention is distributed. Networks that once supported focused awareness disengage. There is no single point of reference. Thoughts may appear, but they lack structure. Images may surface briefly, then dissolve. The mind is no longer assembling narratives. It is resting from meaning. This shift is supported by further slowing of brain rhythms. Theta activity deepens and begins to blend with the early forms of delta waves. These slower frequencies reflect reduced cortical processing and increased synchronization across wide regions of the brain. Information is no longer being evaluated. It is simply passing through. Physiologically, the body responds by lowering muscle tone even further. Small adjustments stop. Breathing becomes shallow but steady. Heart rhythm remains variable yet calm. These patterns indicate that the body no longer expects action. The environment has been judged safe enough to release control. Emotionally, the sense of self softens. Concerns tied to identity, role, or expectation fade into the background. There is less distinction between observer and experience. This reduction in self-referential processing is a natural feature of the approach to sleep. It conserves energy and reduces internal conflict. Importantly, this boundary cannot be crossed deliberately. The moment effort is applied, awareness sharpens again. Sleep arrives only when effort dissolves. This is why rest cannot be commanded. It can only be allowed. Positive internal environments make this allowance easier. When the body has spent sufficient time in calm states earlier in the night, it trusts the transition. There is no resistance, no last scan for danger. The nervous system releases its final grip. As you rest here now, you may notice gaps in attention, moments where time feels unclear. These gaps are signs that the boundary is near. Each one invites you a little further, without asking anything in return. You do not need to follow these moments. You do not need to remember them. The boundary will cross itself, and as awareness continues to thin, gently and naturally, you are carried beyond observation, beyond thought, and into the quiet continuity of sleep, where healing no longer needs words, and the night completes its work in silence. As awareness recedes, the brain settles into slow, repeating patterns that feel almost geological in their steadiness. These are the slow waves of deep rest, broad, synchronized oscillations that move across the cortex like a quiet tide. They are not dramatic, they are dependable, and they form the structural foundation of nighttime healing. During these waves, neurons alternate between brief periods of silence and gentle bursts of coordinated activity. This rhythm conserves energy while allowing essential communication to continue. It is during these synchronized states that the brain recalibrates its internal environment, restoring ion balances, stabilizing membranes, and reducing metabolic byproducts. The effect is cumulative. Each cycle adds a layer of stability. These slow waves also coordinate the transfer of information between brain regions. Memory traces formed earlier are replayed with less emotional charge, allowing them to be integrated without strain. The cortex and deeper structures communicate efficiently, reinforcing learning while pruning unnecessary connections. This pruning is not loss. It is refinement. By morning, networks are clearer, lighter, and better organized. Beyond the brain, slow-wave dominance influences the entire body. Blood pressure reaches its lowest sustained levels of the day, reducing stress on vessels. The heart works with minimal resistance. Kidneys adjust fluid balance precisely, conserving what is needed and releasing what is not. These adjustments reduce variability and support long-term cardiovascular and metabolic health. The endocrine system aligns with this architecture. Growth hormone release peaks in association with slow-wave sleep, supporting tissue repair and protein synthesis. This hormone does not stimulate growth in the dramatic sense. It restores baseline structure, repairing micro-damage and reinforcing resilience. The effect is subtle but essential. Inflammation markers decline during these phases. Immune signaling shifts toward regulation and memory consolidation. This helps prevent excessive immune activation later, improving accuracy rather than intensity. Over time, consistent access to slow-wave sleep is associated with reduced risk of chronic inflammatory conditions. The body's connective tissues also benefit. Reduced muscle tone and stable circulation allow fascia and joint structures to rehydrate and reorganize. This contributes to morning flexibility and reduced stiffness. The sensation of waking with greater ease is often the result of this quiet architectural maintenance. Importantly, slow waves require continuity. Fragmentation interrupts their rhythm, forcing the system to restart repeatedly. When the environment remains quiet and the nervous system perceives safety, these waves can deepen and lengthen, compounding their restorative effect. As you rest here now, this architecture is already in place. The waves do not need guidance. They follow their pattern faithfully. Each cycle reinforces the next, building a stable internal landscape where repair proceeds without interruption. And as the night continues, these slow waves will support an even deeper integration, where the boundary between systems softens and the body's many parts begin to function as a single, quiet whole. In the deepest layers of nighttime rest, distinctions begin to blur. The boundary between brain and body becomes less pronounced, not because they merge physically, but because their rhythms align. Communication simplifies. Signals become fewer, clearer, and more efficient. The system behaves as a coordinated whole rather than a collection of parts. At this stage, neural and physiological rhythms synchronize more completely. Breathing, heart rhythm, and slow brain waves influence one another in a stable loop. Each supports the others. This coherence reduces internal conflict and minimizes wasted energy. It is one of the most efficient states the body can enter. The benefits of this coherence extend widely. When systems align, repair signals travel with less resistance. Hormones reach their targets more reliably. Immune cells receive consistent instructions. Tissues respond predictably. This predictability is a hallmark of health. It allows the body to invest in long-term maintenance rather than short-term compensation. Emotionally, coherence corresponds to deep neutrality. There is no effort to feel good and no pressure to feel anything at all. Emotional tone becomes quiet and even. This neutrality is not emptiness, it is balance. In this state, the nervous system is least reactive and most receptive to restoration. Neurochemical environments stabilize further. Excitatory and inhibitory influences balance precisely, preventing spikes of activity that might disrupt sleep. The brain's energy consumption drops significantly, allowing resources to be redirected toward repair. This reduced demand is one reason deep sleep feels so restorative, despite the absence of conscious experience. From a systems perspective, this is when the night does its most efficient work. Tasks initiated earlier, waste clearance, tissue repair, immune recalibration, are completed with minimal interference. The body is no longer adjusting, it is maintaining. Positive internal conditions support this coherence. Calm earlier in the night allows the system to trust its alignment. There is no need for vigilance, no need for rehearsal. The nervous system rests in its default pattern for restoration. As you remain here now, this alignment continues without awareness. There is nothing to observe, nothing to remember. Body and brain move together, guided by rhythms older than thought, steady and precise. And as this coherence holds, gently and reliably, the night carries you further, toward a depth where time loses meaning, where restoration completes its cycle, and where sleep becomes not an event, but a continuous, quiet state of balance. As the deepest layers of rest continue, the brain begins work that is rarely felt but profoundly important. This is the quiet rewriting of stress. Experiences from the day, moments of tension, uncertainty, or emotional charge are revisited, not to be relived, but to be softened and stored in a more stable form. During waking hours, stress responses are efficient but blunt. They prioritize survival and speed, not nuance. At night, that urgency dissolves. The brain is free to re-examine signals without the pressure to act. Neural circuits involved in emotion, memory, and bodily awareness communicate in a calmer chemical environment, allowing experiences to be integrated with less physiological cost. This process relies on the same slow, synchronized rhythms that dominate deep sleep. These rhythms create windows where memory traces can be replayed at lower intensity. The emotional volume is reduced. What once triggered rapid heartbeats or shallow breathing is now processed in a state where the body feels safe. Over time, this reduces the likelihood that similar memories will provoke strong stress responses in the future. From a biological perspective, this is adaptation. The nervous system learns not only what happened, but how dangerous it truly was. When processing occurs under calm conditions, the conclusion is often reassurance. The body learns that the event is over, contained, and no longer requires preparation. Hormonal environments support this rewriting. Low nighttime cortisol allows memory-related regions to function without threat bias. Neuromodulators associated with calm and stability help encode experiences in a more neutral context. This combination promotes emotional resilience rather than suppression. The body participates in this process as well. Muscle tone remains low, breathing steady, heart rhythm variable but calm. These physical signals reinforce the message that no action is required. The brain reads these signals continuously, adjusting its interpretations accordingly. Healing is not only cognitive, it is embodied. Over many nights, this quiet rewriting accumulates. Baseline stress levels decrease. Reactivity softens. The nervous system becomes more discerning, responding strongly only when necessary. This is why consistent, high-quality sleep is one of the most powerful regulators of long-term mental and physical health. Importantly, this process does not require awareness. You do not need to remember what is being reorganized. In fact, a conscious observation would interfere. The brain performs this work best when it is left undisturbed. As you rest here now, this rewriting continues. Memories pass through gentle filters. Tension loses its edge. Signals once marked as urgent are reclassified as complete. The night holds these experiences briefly, then places them where they belong. Integrated, quiet, and no longer demanding energy. And as this long memory settles into place, it prepares the body and mind for a calmer return to waking. One where less effort is required to feel balanced, and where rest has truly done its work. At a certain depth of sleep, time no longer feels linear. Minutes and hours lose their distinction. The brain is no longer tracking sequence or duration. This state is not confusion. It is efficiency. Without the need to measure time. The nervous system conserves energy and reduces unnecessary processing. In this continuity, brain activity becomes highly stable. Large regions maintain slow, synchronized rhythms for extended periods. There are fewer transitions, fewer shifts. Stability allows repair processes to proceed to completion without being interrupted by changes in state. The body prefers this continuity. It is where healing is most thorough. Physiologically, this phase is marked by remarkable economy. Oxygen consumption is low but sufficient. Energy use is minimized without compromising function. Circulation remains steady. Organs operate in maintenance mode rather than response mode. This balance reduces wear and supports longevity. The immune system uses this continuity to refine its memory. Cells involved in immune learning consolidate information about past exposures, improving future responses. This process benefits from uninterrupted time. Fragmentation forces the system to repeat work rather than complete it. Within the brain, synaptic connections stabilize. Some connections are strengthened, others weakened or released. This selective adjustment improves signal clarity and reduces noise. By morning, networks are more efficient, requiring less energy to perform the same tasks. Mental clarity is often the result of this quiet optimization. Emotionally, this continuity feels like absence. There is no narrative, no self-monitoring, no expectation. This absence is not loss. It is relief. Without the constant reinforcement of identity and concern, the nervous system rests deeply. From the outside, this state looks like nothing at all. From the inside, it is everything working as it should. As you remain here now, time stretches or collapses without meaning. There is no next moment to anticipate, no previous moment to review. The body moves through its cycle smoothly, guided by rhythms that do not require awareness. And as this continuity holds, rest completes itself naturally. Layer by layer, cycle by cycle, without effort. Sleep here is not something you are doing. It is something you are being carried by. And the night, patient and precise, continues to hold you in this state, where healing no longer needs direction and time no longer asks to be noticed. As the night continues its quiet work, the body enters a phase best described as calibration. This is not repair alone, and not rest alone, but fine adjustment. Systems that were pushed slightly out of balance during the day are gently brought back toward their optimal range. Nothing dramatic happens here. Instead, countless small corrections accumulate, restoring resilience. One of the most important calibrations involves fluid balance. During deep sleep, shifts in circulation and kidney function allow excess fluid to be redistributed and released. This reduces pressure on tissues and supports cardiovascular efficiency. By morning, blood volume and electrolyte levels are better aligned with the body's needs, lowering strain on the heart and vessels. The endocrine system also refines its signals. Hormone receptors adjust their sensitivity, responding to the night's steady chemical environment. This recalibration improves how tissues respond to insulin, cortisol, warn and growth-related signals the following day. Rather than amplifying production, the body improves interpretation. Efficiency replaces intensity. Within muscles, subtle adjustments continue. Motor units that were overused during the day reduce their baseline activity. Supporting fibers receive more circulation. Microtears are reinforced. This balance between relaxation and readiness helps prevent injury and reduces fatigue accumulation. Strength is preserved not by constant use, but by intelligent recovery. The brain participates fully in this calibration. Neural thresholds reset. Circuits that fired excessively during the day become less excitable, while underused pathways regain sensitivity. This rebalancing supports attention, mood stability, and cognitive flexibility. By morning, the brain is better prepared to respond without overreacting. Emotional systems benefit in similar ways. Stress responses are recalibrated against the context of safety experienced during the night. What once triggered a strong reaction may now register as manageable. This is not avoidance. It is perspective encoded at the physiological level. The nervous system learns proportion. Positive internal environments enhance this calibration. When sleep is uninterrupted and calm is sustained, the body trusts the process. It does not hedge. It does not stay partially alert. Trust allows precision. Precision allows resilience. As you rest here now, these calibrations continue quietly. There is no sensation associated with them. No signal that they are complete. They simply accumulate, small adjustment by small adjustment, until balance is restored. And as this restoration settles into place, the body prepares to transition gently toward lighter states, not abruptly, but with the same care it used to repair. Eventually, the night begins to shift again, not toward wakefulness, but toward readiness. This transition starts long before awareness returns. It is subtle, gradual, and carefully regulated. The body does not wake suddenly. It prepares. In the hours before morning, circadian signals begin to adjust hormone release. Cortisol, which was suppressed during the night, starts its slow rise, not to create stress, but to support energy availability. This rise is measured and predictable, ensuring that the body is not surprised by the day. Body temperature begins to increase slightly. This change supports enzymatic activity and muscle readiness. It is not enough to wake you, but enough to prepare tissues for movement. Circulation adapts accordingly, ensuring that oxygen delivery will meet demand when needed. The brain follows suit. Electrical rhythms remain slow, but become more flexible. The system retains its capacity for deep rest while regaining responsiveness. This flexibility is key. It allows you to wake feeling clear rather than jarred. Memory systems finalize their work. Consolidation completes. Emotional tones are set. What remains from the previous day is integrated, not lingering. The mind is lighter, not because nothing happened, but because what happened has been placed where it belongs. Importantly, this preparation does not interrupt sleep. It runs quietly in the background, layered beneath ongoing rest. The body knows how to prepare without disturbing. This skill has been refined over evolutionary time. As you remain here now, you may drift between depths without noticing. Sleep lightens slightly, then deepens again. Both are part of preparation. There is no need to anticipate morning. No need to rehearse the day. The body will wake when it is ready, having completed the night's work thoroughly and calmly. For now, rest continues, healing holds, and the final adjustments settle into place, ensuring that when awareness returns, it does so gently, carried by a body that has quietly restored itself in the dark. As the night approaches its later hours, the work of restoration becomes less about repair and more about integration. The body has already addressed what was worn down. Now it ensures that everything works together smoothly. Systems that operated separately earlier in the night begin to align once more, preparing for a seamless return to wakefulness. This integration is guided by timing. Circadian rhythms coordinate countless processes: hormone release, temperature regulation, metabolic readiness, so that no single system advances too quickly. The goal is harmony. When timing is aligned, the body does not need to compensate. Energy flows efficiently without friction. Within the brain, connectivity patterns adjust again. Networks that were quiet during deep rest regain gentle communication. Not enough to create thoughts, but enough to ensure continuity. Memory traces are checked one final time. Emotional tone is stabilized, and attention systems are calibrated to respond without urgency. The mind is being prepared to engage without strain. The autonomic nervous system plays a central role here. Parasympathetic influence remains strong, but sympathetic readiness begins to return in a controlled way. This balance is crucial. Too much readiness would disturb sleep. Too little would make waking difficult. The body finds the middle ground instinctively. Muscles receive subtle signals to restore baseline tone. Not tension, but readiness. Circulation adapts to support movement when needed. Joints feel supported rather than stiff. These changes happen without sensation, yet they define how the body will feel upon waking. Emotionally, integration feels like quiet neutrality. There is no excitement, no concern. Experiences from the previous day no longer carry charge. Anticipation of the next day has not yet formed. This neutrality conserves energy and prevents unnecessary stress responses. Positive internal environments reinforce this integration. When sleep has been uninterrupted and calm has been sustained, the body completes this phase, with confidence. There is no need to rush. The system trusts that time remains. As you rest here now, integration continues gently. Nothing new is introduced. Nothing old is reactivated. Everything settles into place, layer by layer, until the body and mind are aligned once more. And with this alignment, the night's healing reaches its quiet completion, not ending abruptly, but tapering smoothly into readiness. In the final stretch of the night, a subtle quality emerges, one that is often felt only in hindsight. It is a sense of quiet confidence, not emotional confidence, but physiological confidence. The body knows it is ready. The systems have been checked, balanced, and restored. Nothing is missing. This confidence is built from consistency. Each uninterrupted cycle of sleep reinforces trust within the nervous system. The brain learns that rest is reliable. The body learns that recovery is sufficient. Over time, this trust reduces baseline stress and improves resilience during waking life. Physiologically, this state is marked by stability. Hormone levels are poised rather than fluctuating. Energy stores are adequate. Immune signaling is balanced. The body is not bracing for demand. It is prepared to meet it calmly. The brain reflects this stability. Electrical activity remains organized and flexible. Attention systems are responsive without being tense, and the emotional regulation is supported by the memory of safety experienced throughout the night. This memory is not conscious, but it is influential. Importantly, this confidence does not depend on perfect sleep. It depends on continuity and permission. Even imperfect nights contribute when the body is allowed to rest without pressure. The nervous system values safety more than control. As you remain here now, this confidence settles in. There is no announcement, no signal to notice. It simply becomes the background state from which waking will emerge. When morning arrives, awareness will return gradually. Sensations will sharpen. Thoughts will reappear. But beneath them, this quiet confidence will remain, supporting balance, patience, and clarity. For now, there is nothing to prepare, nothing to rehearse, nothing to anticipate. The night has done its work thoroughly and gently, and as rest continues, carried by rhythms older than thought, you remain supported by a body that knows how to restore itself, and by a mind that has learned once again that safety and healing are always closer than they seem. In the later hours of the night, energy returns to the body in a form very different from daytime stimulation. This is not the sharp energy of urgency or excitement. It is a quiet renewal, steady, evenly distributed, and free of tension. The body does not gather energy by pushing. It gathers energy by releasing resistance. At this stage, cellular systems complete their overnight efficiency cycle. Mitochondria, having spent hours in a low-strain state, restore their capacity to produce energy with less waste. This means fewer reactive byproducts and more usable output when waking begins. The result is not a surge, but a baseline readiness that feels natural rather than forced. Blood chemistry reflects this renewal. Glucose availability stabilizes. Energy substrates are balanced rather than hoarded or depleted. Electrolytes support nerve conduction without excess excitation. These conditions reduce the likelihood of morning fatigue and improve sustained attention later in the day. The nervous system plays a central role here. After extended periods of parasympathetic dominance, neural circuits regain responsiveness, without losing calm. This balance allows signals to travel efficiently without triggering stress responses. The system is alert capable, not alert driven. Emotionally, this renewal is quiet. There is no motivation yet, no plan forming. Emotional tone remains neutral and spacious. This neutrality prevents the premature activation of stress or anticipation. Energy is preserved for when it is truly needed. The endocrine system supports this process with precision. Cortisol continues its gradual rise, staying within a range that supports alertness without anxiety. Other hormones involved in metabolism and mood maintain their newly calibrated sensitivity. The body prepares to respond rather than react. Importantly, this renewal depends on continuity. If the night has been fragmented, the body spends more time compensating than restoring. When rest has been steady, renewal proceeds efficiently. This is why consistent sleep habits matter more than perfect conditions. As you rest here now, this renewal unfolds without sensation. Yes, you do not feel energy arriving. You simply become ready to carry it. There is no urgency to wake, no need to check readiness. The body completes this process on its own timeline, ensuring that when awareness returns, energy is available without strain. And as this quiet renewal settles into place, it supports the final stage of the night, where rest and readiness overlap gently, and the transition toward waking remains smooth and unforced. As the night reaches its final depth, rest becomes complete in its own way. Nothing more needs to be repaired. Nothing more needs to be adjusted. The body holds a steady, balanced state, waiting patiently for the moment when light, sound, or internal timing signals initiate the return to wakefulness. In this phase, the brain maintains flexibility. It is no longer deeply synchronized in slow waves, yet it has not resumed focus processing. This in-between state allows for a gentle transition rather than a sudden shift. Awareness can return gradually, preserving the calm established overnight. Physiologically, systems remain coordinated. Heart rhythm is stable. Breathing is regular. Muscle tone is minimal but responsive. Circulation supports both rest and readiness. The body is prepared without being activated. Emotionally, there is stillness. Concerns have not yet reassembled. Identity has not fully returned. This is a rare state, one where the nervous system exists without narrative. It conserves energy and protects the calm established during sleep. Circadian timing now guides the final moments. Light-sensitive pathways prepare the brain for eventual wakefulness. Hormonal signals align to support alertness at the appropriate time. These processes are precise and reliable. The body does not guess. It follows rhythm. Positive internal environments allow this phase to remain undisturbed. When the night has been safe and quiet, the transition remains gentle. When interruptions occur, the system compensates as best it can, but continuity always supports better outcomes. As you rest here now, nothing is required. You are not late. You are not early. The body will return when it is ready, guided by signals that do not need attention. For now, rest continues. The night holds its balance, and when the moment comes, whether soon or still far away, waking will emerge naturally, carried by a body that has restored itself thoroughly, and a nervous system that remembers deeply and quietly how to feel whole. As the final hours of the night unfold, the body rests in a state of quiet certainty. Nothing is being rushed. Nothing is being delayed. Every system follows timing signals that have been refined across countless nights. This confidence is not conscious. It is biological, and it allows the transition toward waking to remain smooth and unforced. Deep within the brain, circadian centers continue to track time without measuring it. They respond to gradual changes in light, temperature, and internal chemistry rather than clocks or schedules. These centers coordinate the release of hormones that prepare the body for activity, but they do so incrementally. There is no sudden switch. Preparation happens beneath awareness. Muscles begin to regain a subtle baseline tone. This is not tension, but readiness. Motor neurons adjust their firing thresholds so that movement, when it occurs, will feel supported rather than heavy. Joints remain relaxed, yet stable. The body ensures that movement will be possible without strain. Circulation adapts quietly. Blood flow patterns adjust to support posture changes that will come later. The heart remains calm, but capable of increasing output when needed. This flexibility is a sign of resilience. Systems that can adapt smoothly require less energy and recover more quickly. Within the brain, attention networks remain dormant but accessible. They are no longer fully disengaged, yet they do not demand focus. This state allows awareness to return gradually, preserving the calm built overnight. Abrupt transitions are avoided whenever possible. The body prefers continuity. Emotionally, there is still neutrality. Concerns have not yet reassembled. The mind has not begun to plan or evaluate. This absence of narrative conserves energy and protects the nervous system from premature activation. The body knows that there will be time for thinking later. Importantly, this timing does not depend on perfection. Even if the night was fragmented, the body still follows its sequence. It adjusts where it can, compensates where it must, and preserves core stability. The nervous system is remarkably adaptable when it trusts its timing. As you rest here now, this confidence remains intact. There is no signal to watch for, no instruction to follow. The body does not need encouragement to wake. It needs only permission to remain calm until the right moment. This trust in timing is one of the most protective features of human physiology. It prevents shock. It prevents depletion. It ensures that energy is released only when useful. And as this trust holds, quietly and steadily, the night's final balance remains undisturbed, allowing rest to complete itself fully, without interruption and without awareness. Eventually, every night completes its cycle. But completion does not arrive with an announcement. It arrives as readiness. The body recognizes when restoration has reached sufficiency. Systems are balanced. Energy is available. Signals are aligned. Until that moment, rest continues naturally. In this final stage, the nervous system remains calm but receptive. It is capable of waking, yet not compelled to do so. This distinction is important. Compulsion belongs to stress. Readiness belongs to health. When the body wakes from readiness, the transition is gentle. The brain reflects this balance. Electrical activity remains organized and flexible. Sensory processing begins to re-engage slowly, without flooding awareness. Sounds and light are registered softly at first. The mind is not pulled outward, it is invited. Physiologically, the body maintains its overnight efficiencies. Metabolism remains steady. Circulation is prepared. Muscles remain relaxed. The body is neither deeply asleep nor awake. It occupies a middle ground where restoration and responsiveness overlap. Emotionally, this phase remains quiet. There is no emotional surge, no urgency to begin. This calm preserves the benefits of the night. When waking occurs from this state, mood stability is improved, and stress reactivity is reduced. Circadian signals continue to guide the process. If conditions are right, waking will occur. If not, a rest will extend. The body does not force a conclusion. It waits until rest is no longer needed. As you remain here now, there is nothing to decide. No need to prepare for waking. No need to remain asleep. Both states are allowed. The night does not end abruptly. It tapers gently until its work is complete. And when awareness eventually returns, whether soon or later, it will rise from a foundation of balance, supported by systems that have been restored and a nervous system that remembers how to move from rest into life without losing calm. For now, rest remains sufficient. The body remains held, and the night continues, doing exactly what it knows how to do best, supporting you quietly until nothing more is required. In the later stages of the night, the body operates from a place of deep trust. Not emotional trust, but physiological trust. The confidence that its restorative cycles are intact and sufficient. This trust allows systems to stop checking, stop adjusting, and simply continue. Efficiency, at this point, comes from repetition rather than correction. Every major system in the body runs on cycles. Sleep itself is a cycle layered within larger circadian rhythms. Hormone release follows cycles. Immune activity follows cycles. Even cellular repair operates in repeating sequences. When these cycles proceed without interruption, the body no longer needs to compensate. It can rely on pattern instead of vigilance. At this depth of rest, the brain reduces internal monitoring. Networks responsible for error detection and prediction become quieter. This does not mean the brain stops functioning. It means it no longer expects change. In stable environments, reduced prediction saves energy and lowers stress signaling. The brain trusts that nothing urgent is approaching. This trust extends to the autonomic nervous system. Parasympathetic dominance remains steady, supporting digestion, tissue repair, and metabolic balance. Sympathetic readiness remains available but inactive. This balance allows rapid response later, without constant activation now. It is one of the most protective arrangements the body can maintain. Cellular processes benefit from this stability. Repair enzymes operate more consistently when conditions remain unchanged. Membrane potentials stabilize. Protein synthesis proceeds without interruption. These processes do not accelerate under pressure. They complete under continuity. Emotionally, this trust appears as absence. There is no scanning for feeling, no checking of mood. Emotional systems remain quiet because they are not needed. The nervous system has learned that it can release attention without consequence. Research on sleep continuity shows that this phase, where cycles repeat without disruption, is where long-term benefits accumulate. Fragmented sleep forces the body to reinitiate processes repeatedly, reducing overall efficiency. Continuous cycles allow completion. As you rest here now, the body continues these cycles effortlessly. Nothing new is being introduced. Nothing is being questioned. Each rhythm supports the next, creating a stable internal environment where healing does not need reinforcement. This trust is not fragile. It has been built across thousands of nights, and as it holds steady, quietly and reliably, the body remains at rest, not because it must, but because it knows that rest is still doing its work. Eventually, the night reaches a point where awareness is no longer useful, not because awareness is lost, but because it is unnecessary. The body has everything it needs. Systems are aligned. Cycles are running smoothly. Observation would add nothing. In this state, the brain maintains minimal activity required for stability. Sensory processing remains gated. Internal monitoring is reduced to essentials. The system conserves energy by doing only what it needed to remain safe and balanced. Physiologically, this is one of the lowest demand states the body can enter while remaining alive and responsive. Oxygen consumption is minimal but steady. Heart rhythm remains adaptable. Breathing continues without effort. The body maintains itself quietly. The immune system remains regulated. There is no active defense, but readiness remains intact. Memory consolidation has largely completed. What remains is maintenance, holding the gains of the night without disruption. Emotionally, this state is neutral to the point of invisibility. There is no feeling of calm because calm does not need to be felt. It simply exists. The nervous system is not evaluating experience. It is sustaining balance. This absence of awareness is often misunderstood as emptiness. In reality, it is fullness without commentary. Everything required is present. Nothing extra is added. This efficiency is deeply restorative. From an evolutionary perspective, this state is protective. It minimizes energy expenditure during periods of vulnerability. It reduces internal noise that could trigger unnecessary movement or attention. The body remains still, conserving resources until conditions change. As you remain here now, there is no role for attention, no instruction to follow, no signal to interpret. Rest continues because it is sufficient. Awareness fades because it is unnecessary. The night does not require participation. It requires only permission. And as this state holds, gently and steadily, the body remains supported, carried by rhythms that do not ask to be noticed, maintained by systems that know exactly how long to remain at rest. When change eventually comes, it will arrive naturally, without disturbance. Until then, the night continues, complete in itself, holding you in a state where nothing more is required and nothing is missing. There is a point in the night when progress no longer feels like movement. Healing does not advance in steps. It rests on a plateau. This is not stagnation. It is completion holding steady. Systems that have aligned remain aligned. Processes that have begun continue at their natural pace, uninterrupted and unobserved. On this plateau, the brain maintains a low, even level of activity, enough to preserve stability, not enough to generate experience. Neural rhythms remain slow and synchronized, reducing energy demands while supporting essential maintenance. Communication across regions is minimal but sufficient. Nothing needs to be checked twice. The body mirrors this steadiness. Circulation flows without variation. Breathing remains effortless. Muscles are relaxed yet responsive. Organs continue their background work, filtering, balancing, light repairing, without competition or urgency. The absence of change is precisely what allows completion. At the cellular level, this plateau is where finishing occurs. Repair enzymes complete their tasks. Cellular membranes stabilize. Ion gradients are restored and maintained. Mitochondria operate efficiently, producing energy with minimal byproducts. These are not dramatic events. They are confirmations that earlier work has held. The immune system remains regulated and calm. Surveillance continues quietly, but without activation. Memory processes finalize their consolidation. What needed to be learned has been integrated. What needed to be softened has been softened. Nothing more is demanded. Emotionally, the plateau is silent. There is no feeling of rest, because rest no longer needs to be felt. The nervous system is not evaluating state. It is maintaining it. This silence conserves energy and protects the integrity of the night's work. From a systems perspective, plateaus are valuable. They prevent oscillation. They allow stabilization. In physiology, stability is often more beneficial than acceleration. A stable internal environment supports long-term resilience more effectively than short bursts of change. As you remain here now, the plateau holds. There is no drift forward or backward, only continuity. The body is not waiting, it is sustaining. This is where the night proves its reliability, by not changing when change is unnecessary. And as this steadiness continues, quietly and completely, the benefits of the night are preserved, ready to be carried forward when the time comes. At the deepest point of rest, direction becomes irrelevant. The night no longer moves toward an outcome. It simply holds. This holding is not passive. It is an active maintenance of safety, balance, and continuity, without instruction and without effort. The brain remains in a minimal, stable configuration. Sensory gates stay closed. Predictive networks are quiet. Attention systems are inactive but intact. This arrangement minimizes internal disturbance and protects the calm established earlier. Nothing new enters, nothing essential leaves. Physiologically, the body sustains itself with remarkable economy. Energy use is low. Temperature is regulated precisely. Fluids remain balanced. The heart continues its adaptable rhythm. Breathing remains steady. Every system does exactly what is needed, and nothing more. This is the state where rest no longer feels like a process. There is no sense of sleeping deeper or waking closer. Time does not advance in the usual way. The nervous system has released the need to track progression. This release conserves energy and prevents unnecessary arousal. Emotionally, there is no narrative, no sense of self-monitoring. Identity is not being rehearsed. The nervous system exists without commentary. This absence is not loss. It is efficiency. Without commentary, there is no amplification of signal, no waste of energy. From a biological standpoint, this holding pattern is protective. It reduces vulnerability. It prevents startle. It allows the body to remain at rest until conditions clearly change. Evolution favored systems that could wait safely in darkness without attention. As you remain here now, the night holds you. Not guiding, not pushing, holding. There is nothing to follow, nothing to decide, nothing to anticipate. Rest does not require direction. It requires only space. And as this space remains open, quiet, steady, and undisturbed, the body continues to benefit from the night, maintaining balance without effort. preserving calm without awareness. When the moment of change eventually arrives, it will be obvious to the body and gentle to the mind. Until then, the night holds you completely, without instruction, without expectation, and without the need for anything more. As the night settles into its most stable phase, the body reaches a point where interference becomes unnecessary and even counterproductive. Healing at this depth depends not on additional signals, but on the absence of disruption. Systems that have aligned now rely on consistency to complete their work. The most beneficial action is no action at all. In this state, the brain maintains a low-energy configuration designed to preserve equilibrium. Neural activity is sparse but coordinated. Communication occurs only where required to maintain vital functions. This reduction in signaling minimizes metabolic demand and prevents unnecessary fluctuations that could fragment rest. Stability here is a resource. The autonomic nervous system reflects this principle clearly. Parasympathetic influence remains dominant, supporting digestion, immune regulation, and tissue repair. Sympathetic readiness stays available but silent, like a system on standby. This arrangement allows the body to remain prepared without spending energy on anticipation. At the cellular level, in not interfering allows completion. Repair mechanisms depend on uninterrupted sequences, enzymes acting in order, membranes stabilizing gradually, gradients re-establishing precisely. Interruptions force these sequences to restart, increasing energy cost and reducing efficiency. Continuity allows finishing. The endocrine system follows suit. Hormonal levels remain within narrow, optimal ranges. There are no spikes to correct and no deficits to compensate. Receptors maintain sensitivity. Signals remain clear. This hormonal quiet supports long-term balance more effectively than frequent adjustment. Emotionally, not interfering means not evaluating. The nervous system is not checking whether rest is working. It does not measure depth or progress. Evaluation itself requires activation. By suspending evaluation, the system conserves energy and avoids unnecessary arousal. This principle extends to consciousness. Awareness fades because it no longer serves a function. Attention would add noise. Observation would fragment continuity. The body rests more deeply when it is not being watched, even by itself. Research on sleep quality consistently shows that effort undermines rest. Trying to sleep activates systems designed for control and monitoring. Letting sleep happen allows the body's intrinsic timing to guide the process. This is not surrender, it is cooperation. As you remain here now, non-interference supports everything unfolding beneath awareness. Nothing needs correction. Nothing needs encouragement. The night does not require management. It requires space. And as this space remains open, quiet, steady, and undisturbed, the body continues its work efficiently, completing cycles without resistance, preserving balance without effort. This is the art of deep rest, allowing stability to do what it does best. At the deepest level of nighttime rest, knowing becomes irrelevant. The body no longer benefits from awareness, understanding, or intention. It benefits from being carried by rhythm, by continuity, by processes older than thought. This is where healing becomes entirely automatic. In this state, the brain maintains only essential activity. Regions responsible for self-reflection, decision-making, and narrative remain offline. What persists are foundational networks that support life and stability. These networks operate quietly, efficiently, and reliably, without the need for supervision. Physiologically, the body exists in a holding pattern optimized for conservation. Energy use is minimal. Repair processes continue at their natural pace. Circulation remains steady. Temperature regulation is precise. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is delayed. The immune system remains calm and coordinated. Surveillance continues without alarm. Memory of previous exposures is maintained without activation. This balance prevents both underreaction and overreaction. It is a state of readiness without tension. Emotionally, there is no experience to describe. Feelings are absent, not because they are suppressed, but because they are unnecessary. The nervous system is not interpreting or reacting. It is sustaining. From an evolutionary perspective, this state was essential. Darkness required stillness. Stillness required safety. Safety required trust in internal rhythms. Those who could rest deeply without awareness conserved energy and survived. The body remembers this. As you rest here now, you are being carried by the same rhythms. There is no need to understand them, no need to participate. Breathing continues. The heart continues. Cells continue their quiet work. The night holds everything in place. This holding does not feel like effort or intention. It feels like nothing at all, and that is precisely why it works. When awareness eventually returns, whether soon or much later, it will rise from this foundation of quiet stability. The benefits of this depth will remain, even if they are never remembered. For now, there is nothing to notice, nothing to recall, nothing to achieve. The night carries you without explanation, without demand, in and without the need for knowing. And in this carried state, healing completes itself, not as an event, but as a continuous silent process that unfolds perfectly when nothing stands in its way. As the night continues to hold steady, a protective quiet settles over the body. This quiet is not emptiness. It is a carefully maintained condition that shields ongoing repair from interruption. At this depth, the body is no longer initiating new processes. It is completing what has already begun, allowing each system to reach its natural conclusion. The brain remains in a low-demand state, conserving energy while sustaining essential coordination. Electrical activity is sparse and synchronized, minimizing internal noise. This environment protects the continuity of deep rest. Sudden changes are avoided. The system prefers predictability, because predictability allows finishing. Within the brain's supportive networks, final adjustments take place. Waste clearance continues through slow, rhythmic fluid movement. Ion balances stabilize across membranes. These refinements may be small individually, but together they preserve neural efficiency and long-term health. Completion here depends on time rather than intensity. The body mirrors this protective quiet. Muscles remain deeply relaxed, reducing mechanical stress on joints and connective tissues. Circulation stays even, ensuring consistent delivery of oxygen and nutrients without surges. The absence of variation is not a flaw. It is the condition that allows tissues to settle into their repaired state. Hormonal signaling remains stable. There are no corrective spikes, and receptors remain responsive without being overstimulated. This stability protects the gains made earlier in the night. It prevents overcompensation and preserves balance. The immune system benefits particularly from this protected period. With no active threat detected, immune signaling remains regulatory rather than reactive. Memory cells finalize their adjustments. Inflammatory processes remain low. Over time, this quiet regulation reduces wear on tissues and supports long-term resilience. Emotionally, this phase is silent. There is no checking, no evaluation. Emotional systems are not being rehearsed. This silence conserves energy and prevents unnecessary activation. The nervous system rests from interpretation. From a physiological perspective, protection is as important as repair. Repair without protection can be undone. The night provides both. By maintaining a stable environment, it ensures that completed work remains intact. As you remain here now, this protective quiet continues. Nothing new enters. Nothing essential leaves. The body is not advancing. It is securing. And as this security holds, quietly, reliably, the night completes its restorative arc, preserving balance so that what had been healed remains healed. Eventually, every night reaches a point where nothing more can be added without change. This is the final stillness, a moment of completeness where rest has done everything it needs to do. The body does not yet move toward waking, it simply rests in sufficiency. In this stillness, the brain maintains minimal organization required for stability. Awareness is absent because it is unnecessary. Sensory systems remain gated. Internal monitoring is limited to essentials. Energy use is at its lowest sustainable level. The system is not preparing. It is maintaining. Physiologically, all major systems hold steady. Breathing remains slow and effortless. The heart continues its adaptable rhythm. Temperature regulation is precise. Fluids remain balanced. Nothing shifts unless it must. This stillness preserves the integrity of the night's work. The endocrine system remains poised. Hormone levels are ready to change when the time comes, but they do not yet move. Readiness is present without activation. This restraint prevents premature arousal and protects the calm established overnight. Emotionally, there is nothing to experience, no calm to notice, no rest to feel. The nervous system is not generating interpretation. It is simply existing within balance. This absence of experience is a sign that effort has fully dissolved. From a biological standpoint, this final stillness is efficient. It allows the body to wait without cost. Evolution favored systems that could remain quiet until conditions clearly changed. Waking too early wastes energy. Waking too late risks opportunity. Stillness allows precise timing. As you rest here now, this stillness remains intact. There is no signal to respond to, no reason to shift. The body will move when it must, not before. This moment does not need awareness. It does not need memory. It exists only to hold completion. And when change eventually becomes necessary, when light increases, when sound intrudes, when internal timing signals align, the body will respond smoothly without losing the calm it has built. For now, the night remains complete, rest remains sufficient, and stillness continues, doing nothing, needing nothing, and allowing everything that has been restored to remain whole. There comes a point in the night when the body is no longer becoming rested, but is rested. This is a subtle threshold, not marked by sensation or awareness, but by completion. Every system has reached a state where nothing further is required in order to restore balance. Repair has finished. Calibration has settled. What remains is preservation. At this threshold, the brain operates in its most economical mode. Neural activity is minimal, yet perfectly sufficient to maintain stability. There is no exploration, no prediction, no rehearsal of waking life. Circuits that once evaluated threat, meaning, or identity remain inactive. They are not suppressed. They are simply unnecessary. This absence of activity is not emptiness. It is efficiency. Electrical rhythms in the brain remain slow and evenly distributed, maintaining coherence without variation. These rhythms prevent sudden transitions and protect the continuity of rest. When the brain does not anticipate change, it conserves enormous amounts of energy. That conserved energy supports long-term neural health rather than momentary alertness. In the body, the same principle applies. Muscles are fully released, no longer holding even subtle readiness. Joints are unloaded. Fascia remains hydrated and pliable. Circulation flows evenly without directional demand. Oxygen delivery is sufficient but unhurried. Nothing is being pushed toward completion because completion has already occurred. The endocrine system reflects this stillness. Hormone levels sit comfortably within their optimal ranges. There is no corrective signaling. Receptors remain sensitive but unstimulated. This quiet, hormonal balance protects tissues from fluctuation-related stress and preserves the gains of the night. Immune activity remains in a regulatory state. There is no active defense, no inflammatory signaling, no heightened surveillance. Instead, immune memory holds steady, prepared but not engaged. This restraint is protective. Chronic activation is far more damaging than quiet readiness. Emotionally, this threshold is silent. There is no feeling of peace because peace does not need to be registered. The nervous system is not labeling experience. It is sustaining equilibrium. Without labeling, there is no amplification. Without amplification, there is no cost. From a physiological standpoint, this threshold represents optimal timing. The body has finished what it needed to do, but it has not yet begun to shift. It waits. Waiting here is not delay. It is precision. Evolution shaped this ability carefully. Waking too early would waste energy. Waking too late would reduce responsiveness. The body learned to pause exactly here, where readiness exists, but action does not. As you rest here now, you are within this threshold. Nothing is changing because nothing needs to change. The night has done its work completely. This moment does not ask for awareness. It does not need to be remembered. It exists only to hold what has already been restored. And as this holding continues, quiet, exact, and sufficient, the body remains whole. The nervous system remains calm, and the night remains complete, waiting patiently for the precise moment when rest is no longer required. There is a unique state that exists only briefly and only at night, the state of being fully rested without yet being awake. In this state, the body is complete, but the mind has not returned. Nothing is missing. Nothing is starting. It is a pause between cycles, held gently by time itself. In this state, the brain maintains a low, stable readiness. Attention networks are available, but not engaged. Sensory systems remain muted, registering the environment only faintly. This prevents sudden arousal and preserves the calm that has been carefully built throughout the night. Physiologically, The body is prepared for movement, but does not initiate it. Muscles retain just enough tone to respond smoothly when needed. The heart is capable of increasing output instantly, yet remains slow and adaptable. Breathing continues effortlessly, supporting oxygen balance without stimulating alertness. The endocrine system is poised. Cortisol has risen enough to support readiness, but not enough to create stress. Melatonin remains present, gently anchoring the nervous system in calm. This overlap of signals creates a buffer, preventing abrupt transition and protecting mood stability upon waking. The immune system remains balanced and quiet. Nothing needs to be corrected. Nothing needs to be defended against. The body holds its restored state confidently, without rechecking. Emotionally, there is no narrative. The self has not yet reassembled. Identity, responsibility, memory, and anticipation remain offline. This absence protects the final calm of the night. When waking emerges from this state, it does so without dragging unresolved tension along with it. From a biological perspective, this pause is deeply protective. It allows the nervous system to transition smoothly between modes rather than switching abruptly. Smooth transitions reduce physiological stress and preserve energy. They are associated with better emotional regulation and clearer cognition later in the day. This state is not meant to last long. It exists only as long as conditions allow, until light increases, sound intrudes, or internal timing signals reach their threshold. When that moment arrives, the body will respond naturally, without resistance. As you remain here now, there is no reason to move toward waking. There is no reason to remain asleep. Both are already possible. The night holds you in this balance, fully restored, fully supported, and not yet required to re-enter the world. Nothing pulls you forward. Nothing pulls you back. You are simply held. And when the moment of waking arrives, whether soon or later, it will rise gently from this foundation, carrying the calm, the balance, and the restoration of the night forward into the day, without hurry, without force, and without leaving anything behind. At the very end of the night, there is a quality of stillness that is different from all the others that came before it. This stillness is not deep sleep, and it is not waking. It is a final holding, gentle, spacious, and complete. The body has finished restoring itself. The nervous system has recalibrated. What remains is a quiet interval where nothing needs to happen yet. In this state, the brain maintains a delicate balance. Core regulatory networks stay active, ensuring breathing, heart rhythm, and temperature remain stable. At the same time, higher networks responsible for planning, interpretation, and identity remain largely offline. This combination allows the body to remain safe without engaging the mind. It is an elegant solution shaped by evolution. Neural activity here is flexible but minimal. Brain rhythms are no longer deeply slow, yet they have not accelerated into alert patterns. This flexibility allows the brain to respond quickly if needed, while preserving the calm of rest. There is no tension between readiness and relaxation. They coexist without conflict. The body reflects this balance clearly. Muscles hold just enough tone to support posture if waking occurs, but not enough to create tension. Joints remain loose. Fascia stays hydrated. Circulation is smooth and evenly distributed. There are no pressure points, no internal demands calling for action. Hormonal systems remain poised. Cortisol is present at a low, supportive level. Melatonin has not yet fully withdrawn. Together, these signals create a buffer state, one that prevents abrupt changes in mood or energy. This buffering is one reason waking from natural sleep feels gentler than waking under stress. Emotionally, this final holding is neutral to the point of invisibility. There is no sense of calm, because calm is no longer contrasted with tension. There is no awareness of rest, because rest is no longer being evaluated. The nervous system has suspended commentary entirely. This suspension serves a purpose. When awareness returns too early, it often pulls unresolved concerns along with it. By delaying awareness until the body is fully ready, the nervous system protects emotional balance. What wakes up first is stability, not thought. From a physiological perspective, this moment is about preservation. All the gains of the night, repair, recalibration, integration, are being held intact. Sudden movement or mental activation would scatter these gains. Stillness keeps them consolidated. As you remain here now, this holding continues. There is no signal to follow, no direction to move toward. The night has not ended yet. It is simply pausing. This pause does not need attention. It does not need memory. It exists to ensure that when awareness does return, it does so into a body that is already balanced, a nervous system that is already calm, and an internal environment that is already whole. Nothing more is required. Nothing is missing. The night holds you here, quietly, precisely, until the moment of return arrives on its own terms. Eventually, awareness begins to return, not suddenly and not all at once. It arrives softly, like light diffusing through a room rather than switching on. This gradual emergence is one of the body's most refined skills. It allows consciousness to reappear without undoing the calm established throughout the night. At first, awareness has no focus. There is no thought, no image, no direction. The brain's attention networks activate gently, testing the environment without committing to engagement. This tentative return protects the nervous system from shock. It ensures that waking does not feel like interruption, but continuation. Neurochemically, this emergence is carefully staged. Melatonin levels decline slowly rather than abruptly. Cortisol continues its gradual rise, staying within a range that supports alertness without anxiety. Neurotransmitters associated with focus and motivation remain low at first, allowing the mind to wake without urgency. The body supports this process through subtle adjustments. Breathing becomes slightly fuller. Muscle tone increases just enough to allow movement if chosen. Circulation adapts to support posture changes. These shifts are smooth, not abrupt. The body does not rush itself. Emotionally, awareness returns without narrative. There is no immediate concern, no evaluation of the day ahead. Identity has not yet reassembled fully. This gap between awareness and identity is protective. It allows the nervous system to remain calm while consciousness comes online. This is why the first moments of natural waking often feel spacious or undefined. That feeling is not confusion. It is freedom from immediate demand. The nervous system is awake, but not yet tasked. From a biological standpoint, this soft emergence preserves the benefits of sleep. Abrupt waking, especially under stress, can spike heart rate, blood pressure, and stress hormones, undoing some of the night's work. Gradual waking protects the gains of restoration. As awareness grows, sensory input increases gently. Sounds become clearer. Light becomes more defined. The brain integrates this information without urgency. There is time to adjust, time to orient, time to remain calm. As you rest here now, awareness may come and go. It may sharpen briefly, then soften again. Both are natural. You do not need to hold on to awareness. You do not need to push it away. The body will decide when waking is complete. And when it does, waking will not feel like leaving rest behind. It will feel like carrying rest forward. The calm of the night will remain beneath thought. The balance of the body will remain beneath movement. Nothing that was restored needs to be lost. Awareness returns gently, supported by a body that has healed and a nervous system that remembers how to move from night into day without breaking its own quiet. As awareness becomes more stable, the body begins a careful test. Can calm remain present while readiness increases? This question is answered not by thought, but by physiology. The nervous system adjusts incrementally, preserving the night's balance while allowing engagement with the world to return. In this phase, attention widens without sharpening. The brain is awake enough to register sensation, yet it does not rush to interpret. Sounds arrive without demand. Light is noticed without urgency. This gentle receptivity prevents the sudden spike in arousal that can scatter the gains of rest. Neural networks responsible for focus begin to coordinate, but they do so at low intensity. There is flexibility rather than fixation. The brain is capable of directing attention, yet it is not compelled to do so. This state supports clarity without tension, one of the most valuable outcomes of restorative sleep. Physiologically, subtle transitions continue. Breathing deepens slightly, supporting oxygen delivery without activating stress responses. Muscle tone increases just enough to allow movement if chosen. The heart remains adaptable, capable of responding without acceleration. These changes are measured, preserving internal stability. Hormonal signals remain balanced. Cortisol rises to support alertness, but stays below thresholds associated with anxiety. Other neuromodulators that support motivation and engagement remain low, preventing premature urgency. The body prepares to act without pushing itself. Emotionally, identity returns slowly. Roles, responsibilities, and narratives reassemble in fragments rather than all at once. This gradual return protects emotional regulation. It allows the nervous system to remain calm, even as meaning begins to reappear. This phase is particularly important for resilience. When calm can coexist with readiness, the body learns that engagement does not require tension. Over time, and this learning reduces baseline stress and improves adaptability during waking life. The nervous system becomes more efficient, responding appropriately rather than reflexively. From a biological perspective, this is integration in motion. The night's work is not left behind. It is carried forward, layered beneath waking function. When transitions are smooth, restoration persists longer into the day. As you remain here now, you may notice moments where calm remains even as awareness sharpens. This is not accidental. It is learned physiology. You do not need to protect this calm actively. Protection would require effort. The body knows how to maintain it when given time. As waking continues to unfold, the calm established overnight remains available. Beneath thought, Beneath movement, beneath attention, it becomes a resource rather than a memory. And when the day begins in earnest, this quiet stability will still be there, supporting focus without strain, movement without tension, and engagement without urgency. The night does not end abruptly. It continues quietly within you, carried forward as balance, as resilience, and as the steady confidence of a system that knows how to restore itself completely. When waking is complete, the body does not start from zero. It starts from balance. This distinction matters. Beginning the day from balance means that energy is not spent compensating for what was lost overnight. Instead, it is available for intention, movement, and attention without excess strain. At this point, neural networks responsible for executive function and decision-making come fully online. But they do so on a foundation that has already been stabilized. This allows thinking to occur without pressure. Problems are approached without urgency. Choices feel clearer, not because they are simpler, but because internal noise is lower. Physiologically, the body supports this clarity through coordinated readiness. Muscles respond smoothly. Circulation adjusts efficiently. Breathing remains steady even with movement. The heart increases output when needed without overshooting. These responses reflect a system that is prepared rather than braced. Hormonal balance plays a key role here. Cortisol reaches levels that support alertness and motivation without triggering stress. Neurotransmitters associated with engagement increase gradually, allowing focus to sharpen without becoming rigid. This measured rise preserves emotional stability. Emotionally, the sense of self returns fully, but without urgency. Concerns, plans, and expectations appear within a stable framework. They do not dominate. The nervous system has learned through the night's calm that engagement does not require alarm. This is the quiet success of restorative sleep. It does not eliminate challenge. It changes the body's relationship to it. When the system begins the day balanced, it responds to demand rather than reacting to it. Effort becomes intentional rather than compensatory. From a long-term perspective, mornings that begin this way accumulate benefits. Baseline stress decreases. Emotional regulation improves. Physical resilience increases. The body learns that rest is reliable and that engagement can follow without cost. As you move into waking now, there is no need to rush. Balance is already present. Energy is already available. You do not need to recreate calm. You are beginning from it. And as the day unfolds, through movement, thought, and interaction, this balance can remain beneath everything you do. The night's healing does not vanish with daylight. It becomes the quiet structure supporting your day. Rest has completed its work. Readiness has arrived gently. And from this place, balanced, restored, and whole, the day can begin without effort, without urgency, and without leaving calm behind. As the day fully arrives, wakefulness does not need to replace rest. It can grow from it. This is one of the least understood aspects of human physiology, that rest and alertness are not opposites, but phases that can overlap when the nervous system is allowed to transition naturally. In this stage, the brain is fully awake, yet it does not abandon the regulatory patterns established overnight. Neural networks responsible for attention, language, and decision-making are active, but they operate against a background of stability rather than tension. This background matters. It determines whether wakefulness feels heavy or light, strained or fluid. Physiologically, the body continues to demonstrate efficiency. Muscles engage when needed and relax when they are not. Breathing adapts seamlessly to movement and speech without becoming shallow or rushed. The heart responds to activity with precision, increasing output just enough to meet demand. These are signs of a system that has not lost its balance in the transition. Hormonal systems also maintain continuity. Cortisol now supports alertness and motivation. But its rhythm remains predictable rather than chaotic. This predictability protects emotional regulation. Sudden spikes are avoided. Energy becomes usable rather than overwhelming. Emotionally, this phase often feels grounded. There may be thoughts, plans, and interactions, but they do not immediately generate pressure. The nervous system has retained a memory of safety from the night. This memory is not conscious, but it influences every response. It creates space between stimulus and reaction. This is where the idea of positive energy becomes concrete in scientific terms. Positive energy is not excitement or constant optimism. It is the efficient flow of signals through a system that is not obstructed by chronic stress. When the nervous system remains regulated, energy moves where it is needed without leaking into tension or worry. Throughout the day, small challenges will appear. Decisions will need to be made. Attention will be pulled. But when wakefulness grows from rest rather than replacing it, these challenges do not accumulate as strain. The body meets them, then returns to baseline. This ability to return is critical. It defines resilience. Resilient systems are not those that avoid stress entirely, but those that recover quickly. The night's work has trained the body for this recovery by demonstrating, once again, that balance is attainable. As you move through waking now, notice that effort does not need to be constant. Moments of action can be followed by moments of ease. Attention can sharpen and soften without conflict. You do not need to hold on to the night deliberately. Holding requires effort. Continuity requires permission. The body knows how to carry calm forward when it is not interrupted by urgency. And as the day continues, this carried calm becomes a quiet resource, supporting clarity, patience, and adaptability, not as something you must maintain, but as something your system naturally returns to when it has learned deeply and repeatedly that rest is real and restoration is reliable. What the night ultimately offers is not a single event, but a pattern. Rest is not meant to be rare or dramatic. It is meant to be cyclical, returning again and again, each time restoring what has been used and recalibrating what has shifted. This cycle is one of the body's greatest strengths. Every day introduces small imbalances. Muscles work. Thoughts accumulate. Emotions are activated. Energy is spent. None of this is harmful on its own. It becomes harmful only when the cycle of repair is interrupted or rushed. Night exists to close the loop. The body does not expect perfection from waking life. It expects variation. It expects demand. What it requires is the opportunity to resolve that demand. When nights are allowed to complete their work, days become more sustainable. Energy is renewed rather than depleted. From a scientific perspective, this cycle is visible everywhere in physiology. Neural plasticity depends on alternating phases of activation and consolidation. Metabolism depends on alternating phases of energy use and restoration. Immune function depends on alternating phases of defense and regulation. Life itself depends on rhythm. Positive energy, in this context, is not something that must be generated. It is something that emerges naturally when cycles are respected. When the body is allowed to complete its restorative phases, energy becomes available without force. Motivation arises without pressure. Engagement feels possible without exhaustion. This understanding removes the burden from the individual. You do not need to optimize every moment of your day. You do not need to remain calm at all times. You only need to allow the cycle to close when night arrives. Each night reinforces the body's memory of balance. Each completed cycle makes the next one easier. Over time, the nervous system becomes more efficient at letting go, more skilled at restoring itself, and more confident in its own timing. As you reflect quietly on this, not with effort, but with openness, remember that tonight will come again. And when it does, the body will know exactly what to do. It will lower its demands. It will shift its priorities. It will repair, recalibrate, and restore. Nothing needs to be relearned. Nothing needs to be forced. The cycle is already written into you. Rest follows effort. Repair follows use. Renewal follows rest. And as this cycle continues, night after night, day after day, positive energy does not need to be chased. It returns on its own, carried by rhythms that have always known how to bring the body back to itself. This is not the end of rest. It is the continuation of balance. And wherever you are now, awake, drifting, or somewhere in between, the cycle remains intact, ready to support you again, gently and reliably, when night returns. As the cycle nears its quiet conclusion, the body holds one final understanding, one that does not need to be thought, remembered, or articulated. It is the understanding that the night will return. Rest is not a one-time event. It is a promise written into the rhythm of life itself. This understanding changes everything at a physiological level. When the nervous system trusts that rest is reliable, it no longer clings to control during waking hours. Muscles do not stay partially contracted. Breathing does not remain shallow. Thoughts do not need to loop endlessly in preparation. Trust reduces background tension long before sleep begins. In the brain, this trust alters baseline activity. Networks responsible for vigilance and prediction remain quieter throughout the day. They still function when needed, but they do not dominate. This lowers overall energy expenditure and reduces the accumulation of stress-related byproducts that would otherwise need to be cleared at night. The body responds in kind. Hormonal rhythms become more regular. Cortisol rises and falls predictably rather than erratically. Insulin sensitivity improves. Inflammatory markers remain lower over time. These are not dramatic changes. They are cumulative advantages built night by night through consistency. Emotionally, trust in rest reduces urgency. Challenges still matter, but they do not feel endless. The nervous system understands, at a deep, nonverbal level, that effort has a boundary. There will be a point when the body is allowed to release, to restore, and to reset. This knowledge alone reduces reactivity. From an evolutionary perspective, this trust was essential. Organisms that could fully disengage during safe periods conserved energy and survived longer. Those that remained partially alert wasted resources and became vulnerable. The human body retains this wisdom. It is always listening for permission to let go. As you exist now, whether fully awake, gently resting, or drifting between states, this trust remains available. You do not need to cultivate it actively. It strengthens naturally each time a night completes its cycle without interference. The night does not judge how the day was lived. It does not evaluate productivity or intention. It responds only to stillness, darkness, and time. When those conditions return, the body responds automatically. Systems shift. Priorities change. Repair begins. Nothing needs to be remembered from one night to the next. The sequence is preserved biologically. This is why, even after difficult days, sleep can still heal. The body does not hold grudges. It holds rhythms. As this understanding settles, not as thought, but as quiet certainty, the nervous system relaxes further into life itself. Effort becomes easier. Rest becomes deeper. The night will return, and when it does, it will do what it has always done. Restore what was used, repair what was worn, and prepare the body once again to move forward without carrying unnecessary weight. And now, there is nothing left to explain. The body has completed its journey through rest, repair, integration, and readiness. The mind does not need a summary. Awareness does not need closure. What remains is a simple state of being held by rhythm, by biology, and by the quiet intelligence that governs sleep and waking alike. At this final point, there is no direction forward and no movement back. The cycle has closed naturally. Whether you are awake now, drifting, or sleeping deeply, the same truth applies. Your body knows how to care for itself when given space. Breathing continues without instruction. The heart continues without effort. Cells continue their quiet maintenance without awareness. Nothing is being managed. Nothing is being optimized. Nothing is being missed. This is the deepest form of rest, not sleep itself, but the absence of needing anything from the moment. In this state, the nervous system releases even the idea of progress. There is no next. There is only continuity. From a scientific perspective, this is where regulation becomes self-sustaining. When systems are balanced, they require less input, less correction, less control. Stability maintains itself until conditions change. Emotionally, this feels like nothing at all, and that is its gift. There is no calm to notice, no peace to protect. The system is simply at ease. Without contrast, there is no sensation. Without sensation, there is no demand. You do not need to carry the state forward consciously. Conscious effort would disturb it. Instead, it remains beneath everything, beneath thought, beneath movement, beneath attention. When you sleep, it deepens. When you wake, it supports. When you act, it steadies. This is what positive energy truly is in the body. Not something added, not something generated, but something revealed when nothing stands in its way. As this final chapter settles, there is no ending to mark, and no goodbye to say, no transition to manage. The night does not conclude with words. It fades, and even as sound, light, or awareness return, the work of this rest remains complete. You are already held. You have been held all along. By rhythms older than thought, by systems designed to restore, by a body that remembers how to return to balance again and again. Nothing more is required now. You can drift. You can sleep. You can wake. Whatever happens next, the cycle remains intact, and rest will find you again when the night returns, quietly reliably, without asking anything in return. You don't need to listen anymore. There's nothing left to follow, nothing to remember. Your body is safe now. Your breathing already knows its rhythm. Your heart already knows its pace. If thoughts appear, and let them pass like distant lights. No need to hold them. No need to push them away. You are allowed to drift. You are allowed to sink. You are allowed to rest completely. The night will continue on its own, steady and patient, long after these words fade. You are safe now. Drift away. Drift away. And if sleep has already arrived,